Dead Cells on Expert mode. That's 3 boss stem cells activated. All the health fountains are removed, leaving only a few single health flask recharges. More cursed monsters spawning, a new mechanic called scroll fragments, and of course we have to beat this to get to the next boss cell. Now I had one thing to do on the left hand side here. There's a mutation we want to grab. If you use your head from down below, you can actually grab this. This is disengagement. It's a blueprint that we'll probably utilize because there's quite a bit happening in 3BC. In fact, this may be where you start to die if you haven't died yet. Notice our opening weapon selection is now gone. Instead, it has been replaced with this thing. This is from our previous unlock of the recycling tubes. There's always a melee, always a ranged, always a shield, and then always 2 skills. So I think we'll start off with probably the balance blade here. You can see the balance blade actually has the aura swirling around it. That's because it's a plus weapon. The other ones were not pluses, which makes it probably a little bit easier to make the decision by choosing these stronger items. So we're in prison quarters once again. We're seeing the monsters that we've seen before, but that thing down there, that is new. And that might be your first death. Let's pump brutality. Of course, as you've been playing Dead Cells, you've been starting to memorize what monsters can do and reacting to them accordingly. This is the Rampager. The Rampager has only one thing that it does, is it rushes at you after screaming. Do I have dodge roll does fire? No, it must have been the dead body. All right, we need another example because our Rampager's dead. So as you see, the Rampager, it screams and then it runs at you. You cannot stop that with combat. You can maybe freeze it or stun it. If you try to slow it down, it will still do its attacks pretty quickly. So you're probably never gonna fight this in its face. But as you see, like, depending on your weapon, you may actually struggle to kill it on the back end. That's why something like a shield is very good against this. Once you hear the scream, you can already start to prep up that parry. And the chance of landing it, similar to the Oven Knight, where it's really easy to parry that monster. It's not that difficult to land. In fact, I dare say, again, if you're trying to learn how to parry, Oven Knight, which is this thing, and then the Rampager is probably the first monsters I would start to practice doing the parry on. I did like the idea of Ice Grenade to stop the Rampager. Sometimes a simple grenade can do that too. I highly doubt the infantry grenade's strong enough to do that. But see how the monster got rejected from using infantry? We want to see how does that affect the Rampager on the next time we find one. Our routing, however, is going to be a little bit different now that we're in 3 boss cells. We currently have the Ram Rune, the Vine Rune, which is this right here, and Teleport. So we have pretty much all but one important rune in order to get like full progression in this game. And my hope is that we'll get that final rune today. We have an Elite Oven Axe up there. Now that you're in 3BC, you're actually getting more elites to show up in every biome. I really think that this elite is guaranteed to show up on the way to Toxic Sewers. Sometimes I'll even go as far to say that, like, if I don't have an amulet and I'm gonna go to Promenade, I need to probably go into this Toxic Sewers area to make sure that I get my amulet. So I'm doing like another new thing that you probably haven't seen yet. So remember I told you that elites have special abilities as well as they can teleport. If you noticed, I was actually parrying that ability, that laser line. Is that gameplay that you necessarily need to learn? Perhaps not, but it's definitely helpful. because the situation that could have been damage, could have been death, we now have something we can do about it. We didn't get the time door, but we do have the kill door. As you're starting to play more Dead Cells, you're going to start to get things like the kill doors more often as you find yourself getting better at the game, killing monsters without taking as much damage. If you were to not get that kill door, I know some of you may consider resetting the entire run, but I highly suggest you not do that. We can get a couple of new brutality things. I'm definitely a sucker for Swift Sword. Also Impaler. Impaler's quite good, actually. I know it's not going to be as strong as my Balance Blade by default, but that is something I do want to work on. Then, of course, we have 9 cells. We could get some cheap stuff. Assassin's Daggers in here. A lot of mutations. Initiative is in here. Disengagement is in here, which is what we got from the first area, Prison Quarters. Once per biome, if your health falls low, get a force field. We'll work on that and the initiative. Wow, we got the plus version of Impaler. What are the odds? I will happily take that. And of course, we can upgrade it here to plus. You keep the increased move speed. Don't worry about this getting reset. Instead, it will add 1 more bonus effects. Lastly, we get our first mutation. I know we were getting YOLO a lot, but now that we're really starting to understand the game a bit, keep in mind that you could decide to expand a little bit. Start picking things that do damage, some defense, some utility, always nice. But maybe YOLO specifically you may not need anymore. Impaler's a really good weapon. The regular effect of Impaler is that it crits enemies who are facing a wall, but by itself, it's actually quite good. It attacks very quickly, it attacks with range, and some of the mutations and extra effects. In this case, I have the victim's freeze on hit. Very impactful. We'll see if we can get the crit effect right here. Look at that. I did actually aggro this Rampager. We're in Toxic Sewers. Realize that there are Rampagers now in Toxic Sewers. But look at the power of a frozen monster being just stabbed continuously with Impaler. And with combo, we're doing extra damage. Or maybe not maintaining the damage very well because the monsters are spaced out. I'm jumping into secret areas. My goal is not to speed run through the biome trying to maintain combo. If it's active and doing something, I'm happy with that. See that? So remember, I picked up this infantry grenade, and I thought to myself, like, how good is it at helping me with Rampagers? Because what if I don't have a shield, right? I know I told you all that, like, learning how to parry that monster is probably your first line of defense, but maybe there's other options here. In this case, infantry grenade to displace it, giving it an attack reset, and when I say displace, like the monster's getting pushed, almost 90% of the time, if a monster is displaced by being pushed, it will cancel its attack and do something else. Some monsters are immune to that. Like, they don't care if they're pushed. They'll do their attack anyway. But most monsters do not have that. It's stronger. Victims burn when they die. Just like that. This is another legendary altar inside the legendary like and subscribe. You know what to do here. Leave a like on the video, subscribe if you want to see other roguelike games. We have not changed our scroll strategy, which is alternating between, in this case, purple and green, tactics and survival, while we're maining brutality. Oh, remember I was talking about having the damage number over your head? You can see I have a 3 and then eventually a 4. That is only because of combo. Combo is one of the few mutations where it's like getting a stacking damage bonus, and the game kind of articulates that by putting the number over your head. Unfortunately, that number stops at 4. So if you see that 4 and your combo count is at like 100, you are still doing more damage. It just happens to be that the game doesn't go over 4 over your head. Now, one thing I haven't talked about, we've been getting this new mechanic called scroll fragments. The scroll fragment is a new mechanic that's actually going to make us stronger. There is a specific amount that spawns in every biome. There's no like bonus that you can get outside of a completely RNG drop on a monster with a star. We've seen monsters with stars before. Typically, they'll have like the actual scroll from the map. Now they could possibly have a scroll fragment. I can count on probably 2 hands how many times I've seen a scroll fragment drop off a monster. We're not quite done here, but we are where we want to be, which is this ram room. This is new. We have not been here before. It gives us access to a new biome called Ancient Sewers. We're still progressing through Dead Cells right now. If you thought to yourself, dang, I'm seeing the same things over and over again, I hope that this walkthrough helps you out, because this is clearly going to show you all the different kinds of things that we have to see in every run of Dead Cells. That's ramparts. We're not going there. And then a wolf trap that we don't need. I feel like I'm kind of in my flow state right now. So let's hop into Ancient Sewers, brand new area. We did get the 60 because we know what most of the stuff in Toxic Sewers can do. So we're recognizing each monster and attacking it as needed. We did get a new amulet. It's not very different than our current one, as you can see. So we'll go ahead and leave. I've been seeing a lot of survival weapons. I know I'm 614, so there's like a small argument where, yeah, we could probably swap and not lose that much damage. But I would implore you that we've already invested like 4 points into brutality. So essentially you're playing survival with 4 less points. And it does not sound like a good idea. 122 cells. We'll keep pumping up disengage, because that might be something we want to utilize. We could try out the Vorpan. ++ bonus damage. It's not as defensive as the Impaler. Don't even have to really swap just yet. We can kind of see it a little bit later. Next mutation, we're going to continue on the train of brutality mutations, because we don't have a lot of mutations right now. We're working on unlocking 1. And I have, what, 1 more brutality? I actually didn't get a blueprint in Toxic Sewers, now that I think about it, which is very interesting. So that doesn't mean that there's no more blueprints in Toxic Sewers. What that means is that all the blueprints left are not 100% drops. All right, so we're in Ancient Sewers. Mold is everywhere, including right here. The toxic pools, it only does a 1 damage tick to you. It's really there to remove your kill bonus. Like if I had 59 kills, I would go down to 0 from touching the poison. We have the zombie. Standard zombie is back. We have another new monster. The Spiker, I believe its name is. A lot of zombies right here. The Spiker creates spikes. It's interruptible by a freeze. But I can tell you the Spiker cannot be stunned. Like I think... Oh god. Yeah, down slam does not stun it. The tracking on the spikes is very strong. It goes all the way up there. So ideally, if you see spikes happening the first time, you go and look for that spiker. This is a little bit of a puzzle. Apparently there's a blueprint reward. This is again where we use our head. We may have to do some fancy editing in case this takes me a long time to get through, and then back up. And now the door's open. Like, you can see the hole there, right? I kind of had to jump into it because I couldn't get the thing to make that turn I needed. Oh, but it's a dead end. So that's not even it. We have to probably go to the opposite side. There we go. Recall your head using the R3 button or whatever you have it set to. And now that's done. We never have to do that again. Unless I die, then yes, you will have to do it again. Wait, this is something new. It's underground. It's a tentacle. Very difficult to see that. I'll show you how much damage we take the next time I see one, if I react to it in time. Whoa, these things jump. But look, spikes. Immediately have to come down here. But now we have this thing throwing leeches. We have that thing trying to ram into me. We have to utilize the environment the best way we can to make sure we do not take any damage. I can tell you, among all these monsters we're looking at, the spiker probably does the most damage in this biome. It is incredibly painful. Utilize that freeze grenade. Not that much crowd control, unfortunately. See, I'm like kind of dodging into the wall. Not super safe, but my path was blocked. I think ideally you would leave and fight in this hallway, especially when it turned out to be 2 worms. If it was, you know, the rotating laser, the aura, the horizontal laser, the little crystals that protect it, I wouldn't mind fighting in that small little cubby, but we had to stay where we were for the sake of science. And I can tell you that the experiment was a resounding success. I took damage. Nice. A lot of worms. If you were struggling with worms before, you're definitely gonna struggle even more now. We got 4 scroll fragments. As soon as you get the 4th scroll fragment, you get your choice of a power scroll upgrade. Your choice of any upgrade. Just like any power scrolls, we're putting that number into brutality. I have seen people put it into like the non-stats for HP. I would suggest going for damage because you're still gonna get dual scrolls. It's not like there's less scrolls on the map. Damage check. Nice respectable hit from underground. Nothing that's gonna immediately kill you, but you know, pretty bad. This is another tip I want to show you all. These elite altars that you see that have a door, if you open the door, the monster will not immediately start to fight you. So now we have access to that dodge roll stun. These little eggs you can parry. It's yet again another thing in the game you can use your shield on. I know you may be thinking, V, I don't really like using the parry that much, but sometimes, wow. Sometimes it's well worth it to learn. I'm not saying that you have to play the game with a shield every time you play, but Dead Cells is all about having options. And that is one more option in your arsenal. See this? This is another like little leaf. That means you can actually go through the wall. And inside, poison on the floor. But a blueprint. Alchemic Carbine. Actually a very good blueprint. I should also mention that one blueprint does not go towards your 1 blueprint per monster, per biome. So we are still due for one to show up if it's 100%. If not, we're subject to RNG. You may be wondering how to get that without getting poisoned. It's another head instance. I would dare say the devs probably expect you to do that. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. That is a different tentacle. Purple, extra fast. You probably may have gotten hit by that. And I'm not saying that, like, I'm good or something like that. I just have to have a lot of hours. I sort of muscle memory reacted to that dodge roll. But that was a diabolical attack. In any, like, normal circumstance, that would have been damage. 2 BC door. We have to go into all of this stuff because you have no idea what's going to help you. Firebrand. Burns the enemy. Pretty nice to be able to just throw this out and then do my melee attacks. I'm really not losing anything to do that. Because throwing the Molotov is extremely fast. We'll sell this. In fact, if you really want to get into it, you can put Firebrand in the front, and if you're using hold to attack like I am, this is what holding down the Impaler looks like. This is what holding down the Molotov looks like. But if I hold down both at the same time, it looks like this. There is like some slight delay. Look at this jump puzzle, by the way. Only possible in Ancient Sewers. This is one that historically I've always gotten hit on. You just want to delay your jump as long as possible. I don't immediately double jump. But yeah, this is what we call dual binding in most circles. Dual binding was something that you could do literally going into options, controller, rebind, and then I could make these both the X button. As you see, that is no longer possible unless you're in custom mode. And if you do that, you cannot get achievements. However, we can circumvent the mechanic ever so slightly by making it harder on our hands by using hold to attack and then attacking with both weapons at the same time. There is some impact on certain weapons. Not everything can do that. And it requires your placement of the weapon to be left to right. So the quote-unquote first weapon is on the left. The second weapon is on the right. If we were to swap it, it no longer functions the way we want. It has to go in the proper order. We have another thing here. We can use our head to test the waters a little bit. Inside, a new shield, frontline shield. I can tell you that is a green-red shield. We have a lot of doors here. Inside is free stuff, including cells. Big money, $1,000. And then my choice of any item that I want. And I think for now, I'm gonna get the plus with a star powerful grenade. To be fair, it's not as good of a grenade as I thought it was gonna be. I guess I didn't know what the star affix was. But usually in that choice, the way how I decide what to get is not only based on the items that I like, but also based on does it have a star and is it pre-upgraded. This is nice. It's not a high-level kunai. But keep in mind, those items are brutality items. You can play almost as if you're playing tactics. I actually like to call this fake tactics. It does not activate our brutality mutations, unfortunately. So that's like one issue you have to get by. But outside of that, I do think fake tactics is quite strong. Into the Insufferable Crypt, another brand new area. You could probably get here before 3BC. Just so happens to be that for this walkthrough, we got here for the first time in 3BC. 100 cells. We're gonna get the disengagement. Very nice mutation to have. 37 remaining. I would like to have at least one other brutality mutation. Again, that's not my favorite brutality mutation. I can tell you that right now. But I would like to get that in the queue so we can see, you know, more stuff. Again, I like to think that Dead Cells is a game with lots of variety, but it's also kind of up to you to make that variety. I upgraded all my stuff. As I said, these do actually nothing with this build. I'm not gonna reset just yet, though I could easily take support because we have the turret. I could take tranquility because it's a ranged setup right now, but it does cost $1,000 to reset. It costs another $2,000 to reset again, so I'd like to stick with what we have so far. You can kind of get a little preview of it. It's very scary looking. This is Conjunctivius. Giant eyeball charges at you. We're in basically phase 1, so it's not going to be doing a lot of things. But you can see that it has at least those 2 attacks. These platforms, even though they look... Oh, third attack, that's an aura. Even though these platforms look like the ones that fall, it does not do that in this fight. Alright, let's start fighting. I am still doing hold to attack with both Molotov and the kunai. I did run out of bullets, but I can throw my grenade and get the bullets back? No! I don't have the powerful grenade that gives us ammo back. I should have reset, because that would have been really nice right now. Okay, so we did about 25%, maybe 30%. We've gone into phase 2, sort of, or at least the first ad phase. Lots of tentacles. Every time it screams, the tentacles upgrade. They are now purple tentacles. Killing one causes a scream. We're actually doing a little bit of damage to the boss itself on each tentacle killed. They finally end up as blood red tentacles. Keep our damage up. This has upgraded, so now it is like a burst of, what was that, 4 missiles? You can try to just walk through it. We will have to use a health pot because we're down to 40%. Remember, 1 health pot is 60% total. The way I like to do it is I like to find the second missile and just dodge roll through it. So yeah, if you haven't realized what's happening here, the start of every tentacle phase is 1 tentacle going across the ground. Then they'll start doing some up attacks. But if one dies, you'll always have a tentacle fly across the ground. Just like that. Some more up attacks. It's probably gonna do like 3. And then back to the wall. And it repeats that process until all the tentacles are gone. That's the last of the tentacles. There will be no more that are summoned at all. I did a hard fall there. Really, the most damage you'll take is from the charge. And probably the aura, too. The aura does hurt. I do want to illustrate one more thing if the boss decides to do it. Usually it's based on time. Let's actually put that down there, just in case. Of course, the boss came down here. I need you to do your last attack. There it is. A bullet hell. Sometimes I like to roll into the wall to give myself some iframes. That is a time-based attack. If you spend a lot of time in this fight, that's almost like an enrage. And it will do that on the same cycle, so it will take a little while for you to get another one. If you're doing no damage to the boss and you're seeing that, it's time to upgrade your build. Absolutely. I did lots of upgrades before I came in here. The reward for killing bosses now is scroll fragments. If we look at the biome map, there are 4 bosses here. Out of these 4, Conjunctivius gives the most scroll fragments. This is like one of the few cases where your route could give you an additional scroll fragment. So now we have yet another upgrade for brutality. We can sell that. A blueprint. This is the tentacle. And only one way we can go, because the other way requires wall run. Slumbering Sanctuary. Yet again, another new area. So people will say, V, I'm seeing the same things in Dead Cells all the time. It's because you're probably not doing the progression. We can upgrade the forge some more. I'm gonna not do that because I want to do some more unlocks here. The tentacle's right here. It's 100 cells. I would say this is not a priority upgrade. It's, in my opinion, it's not good, but some people do like it. Instead, we'll continue to work on initiative. 7 cells left. I'm actually gonna put these towards torch, just so we can see some more of these, what I call like really good items. Yeah, we'll go ahead and swap now. Combo, initiative, and we will actually keep the disengage. Disengage. Oh wow, our first health flask did not show up until after the boss. That's impressive. We have to skip the bank because we're in progression right now. Let's get a melee item back in here. Killer Instinct and now Initiative all work on melee attacks, and only the Impaler is doing melee right now. Slumbering Sanctuary. Yet again, possibly one of your first deaths. We have many new monsters. Spinny Guy from High Peak Castle, I think is the last time we saw him. There's a orb caster attacking my turret and it's going invisible or something. More enemies that can shoot, that's the Inquisitor. Another thing up there, that's called the Masker. The Masker is not attacking. Instead, it is making enemies hidden. I cannot see the orb caster, and I can only see the lacerator because it was burning. There we go. Okay, so the orb caster. You can see there's a lot of ranged threats on this map. This thing teleports if you get too close to it. Its only job is to shoot that big orb, and I can tell you that thing does giga damage. But the monster itself is fairly weak. We did get that new mutation. Initiative, your first melee attack inflicts an additional 465 damage. Impaler by itself says that it has 1800 DPS. That does not mean that my first hit is 1800 damage. In fact, it's more likely something around like 900 damage. Let's see if we can find an example. This is a 3BC door. Inside is a chest. The wolf trap actually isn't that bad of an option on this map. That's a little bit of foreshadowing. Let's grab this. You can kind of see the silhouette of these monsters. There's something walking right now, and then we know that there's a lacerator. It's the same effect as the knife thrower, except all monsters have it. Alright, so one hit from Impaler looked to be about 500 damage, 600 just then. Of course, if you crit, it's plenty more. So we're essentially doing like 75% extra damage on the first swing of every monster. It doesn't matter if the monster is full or not. Like, you could try to reduce its HP with this and then attack, and you still get the bonus from initiative. The reason why I don't like initiative all that much is that it's only the first hit on the first monster. If it was a boss, for example, initiative has next to 0 value. It's essentially only good for biomes, and I'm not gonna reset on every single boss I find. I do believe it also works on down slam. Yeah, that yellow number that you may have seen. Oh my goodness gracious, that is a lot of damage. Utilize that rally to get some of it back. The yellow damage number that's not a critical, that's actually the damage of the initiative or any like other random special effects I have. So I think launch a grenade also has a yellow number. We do have food, but we cannot go back. There's literally that one teleport and no other teleport. And that is standard for Slumbering Sanctuary. It always generates with only the first teleport. We have this, though. We haven't seen one of these in a while. Elite Altar. It's an orb caster. Runs away, as we already know. Sinew Slicer, perhaps the only thing doing damage to it. Inside, a new rune, shaped like a spider. This is the Spider Rune, a permanent rune that lets you cling the walls. Cling in this game is referring to wall run and also being able to jump off the wall. The quintessential upgrade for any Metroidvania is the ability to wall run. So, look at how the map is generated. We are forced to teleport back to the very first teleport of the entire game after hitting that button. The button has changed the biome completely. Monsters that were frozen are now unfreezing. We have the Dancer, I think it's called, which is new. I think it might be local to this map. We have this Golem, also unique to this map. We'll try to deal with the Dancer. You can kind of see what the Golem's basic premise is. 2 basic premises. It punches with like a rocket punch. If you leave, it brings you back. Sometimes it will down slam and hit the entire platform. The only way to dodge that is a jump. You could try to sort of like predict what it's gonna do. If you get hit by the Golem, that is perfectly okay because it hits everyone. The Dancer, and there's Rampagers, 2 of them in fact. You can see how the game is trying to escalate, right? They call this expert mode, but things are getting extremely dangerous. Let's grab the food and then check out this door. Oh, that's the door I already opened. Nice. All right, so before we go down, keep in mind that every area that you have cleared now has monsters. The monsters have been summoned from being frozen. We'll head up instead. Keep an eye out for stuff you can break. Any food you find, you absolutely are gonna need it here. This, you'll start to find platforms that are impossible to get up because the game now expects you to use your wall run. That's the nature of the Metroidvania. There's even protectors keeping monsters from taking damage. That's big food. 50%, I'm at 60. I'm okay with eating the 10%, no pun intended. Another Golem. One thing I like to do, I'll start a jump and then dodge roll. That way, like, if it's gonna do the down slam, I'm kind of prepared for it. This dancer has a lot of teleports. It'll even, like, cancel its attack to dodge your attacks. There's not a lot you can do to, like, bait out certain moves from the dancer. It's kind of just a try your best situation. It doesn't do a lot of damage, though. You just need to cancel your attack before it hits you with a dodge roll of your own. It's almost like you're fighting yourself at this point. Elite Dancer. We're gonna do the same door tech. Gives us an attack of opportunity. Still took damage though, because it did that dodge roll and I did not stop attacking. I just held down that button. And in Dead Cells, at 3 BC, you cannot simply hold down the button anymore. The way how this map is laid out, there are 2 directions to go in. Left and right. And I believe they both end with a teleportation room. Sepulcher. New area. Actually, we saw that in Stilt Village, but we couldn't access it. There's a small path over here. And I think I know what it is. Yeah. The cursed chest. I can tell you, Slumbering Sanctuary has a guaranteed cursed chest. This always shows up. Because of that, this map is extremely dangerous. It could have appeared at the start. It could have appeared at the end. Similar to some of the other cursed chests that we've seen. In which case you'd have to guess, do I have 10 monsters left? We already know that monsters are going to spawn in this area. And then there's another door that probably has more monsters. So I don't fear not being able to kill them. I will actually take this. It's a level S multiple Nox bow. I know it has special tech in it to be able to like spread oil, which could be kind of cool with the Molotov. Doing that same like hold to attack kind of gameplay requires me to be a little bit close range, and I don't think I want to do that. Now, of course, we are cursed, so it's going to be much more difficult, much more volatile. I have to utilize my range, which in some cases, when I play Dead Cells and I get cursed, sometimes I just immediately swap to my ranged weapon and have the like maximum amount of safety possible just to be able to clear the curse, and then I'll go back to whatever build I had previously. So 4 more. We found our blueprint, Ranger's gear, tactics. 2 more. I know I'm missing 2 monsters, but they don't have a blueprint for me because I just got the blueprint. They could have food, technically. This is dangerous. And I'm cursed. You see spikes, you see a big fall, you have no idea what's at the bottom. Perhaps it's more advantageous to do this encounter. We know how the golem works. If we leave, it'll try to teleport me back. Maybe we can utilize all of this. Not to say we're cheesing it, but like we know how the monster works. And when you're playing Dead Cells, you as the beheaded who is like respawning into every area, almost canonically, you know how this stuff works. That's why you're winning. Secret discovered. Masochist, another new mutation. If you ever, like, look at this. Imagine if we missed the ledge. We'd be dead with the curse. Another blueprint. Warrior outfit. I'm almost playing this like I'm playing Brutality. I know it's ranged gameplay, but I have to dodge roll through enemies because I need to be close enough to do the Firebrand. Pump up the HP. A different exit. We actually have choice between 2 exits here. And then that's it. That's the entire biome. May have been scary for you. My hope is that, you know, as you watch me play it, I took damage, but I never used the health pot. We didn't just auto-kill every monster. We kind of like watched to see which one does what. And we learned how to address each monster by watching their actions. And now we're going into yet again another new area. Forgotten Sepulcher. Might go back to the melee setup, might stay as the range setup. Now we have access to Health Flask 4. So that is our next goal. Grab the torch. The other thing we found was Ranger's Gear. Your next range attack after using a skill does extra damage. There's a lot of like tactics skills that are on a very short cooldown. And then Masochist, trap damage is capped at 10% of your HP. So if you find yourself getting hit a lot by spikes and whatnot, this is what helps with it. However, we gotta get this. You're telling me we can get a new health flask? Absolutely. All right. Personally, I don't know what I want to do with this setup just yet. Definitely Firebrand plus Torch is a little bit redundant. Goodbye to our very nice Impaler. Hello to a mediocre Torch. Torch cannot roll bonus damage to burning or anything of the sort, so there's not a lot you can roll for it. But now we're going into Forgotten Sepulcher. New area, perhaps one of the scariest areas in Dead Cells, bar none. NPC. We haven't had an NPC in a long time. So this is the anomaly she's looking for. Very interesting story tidbit. You've come a long way beneath the surface, Fallen One. Dark is the path you've chosen. The light of the Guardian Monoliths will guide you. But for how long? I don't know. Behind you, that big light just there. Now I know. Follow the light. So, this map has a very specific mechanic to it. If I stand here, you can see that the darkness sort of comes in and I start taking damage. What you're supposed to do is you have to hit these to get light. But this is not permanent. This will actually break at some point. The same goes for each of these. You have the option to buy light if you really want to. Nightlight lights your path, does really nothing else. And it's on a very long cooldown, 120 seconds. My suggestion is that if you're in this biome for the first time, like the actual first time, I would probably suggest you use this. Technically speaking, you could keep the grenade while this thing is on cooldown, because the cooldown is continuing to click down, I believe. You could just go back to the teleporter once you feel like you've gone decently far. We have new monster, a mummy. We saw the crab before, we saw the assassins before, the dark tracker. The mummy jumps and can jump very far. It does a tantrum once it's done, and that's your signal to go in and do some damage. But if you look at Sepulcher, we have a lot of monsters stacked on each other, so it gets pretty bad. In some cases, you feel like you're out of light. Backtracking is the worst thing you can do in Sepulcher, because all of this light's gone. There's just no more light. Ideally, you need to be moving forward the entire time. Things like this are very scary because there's no light in here. We're now at a point where there's no light at all, but every time you kill a monster, you get a little bit of a refresh. So this is where having things like grenades are really nice, because you could clear out a good section of the map. and then get a nice refresh on your light. The way how Sepulcher's designed, there is light somewhere. It's just a matter of, like, are you looking in the right spot? In this case, the light was in these two, but we had a long section of no light, and or the light I had disappeared. I haven't talked about our torch yet. The torch burns enemies. It does do normal DPS by itself, but it also does a burn. Using the same door tech. A knife thrower. We haven't seen that just yet in this biome. That's a little bit of foreshadowing. That tells us there are knife throwers on this map. So be afraid that it might show up in the near future. So we're gonna get this. I know that we are not in light right now. So as soon as we pop out, I have to immediately start looking for light. I think it's on the right. Sometimes you have to step back and think about, like, what do I need to do next? I obviously need light. So I'm like looking at the environment, trying to check for clues, and there happens to be some light rays. First chest. That is a curse that shows up 100% of the time. We can look ahead to see if there are any monsters. Some nice choices there. A possibly new monster with a gigantic axe. Maybe you don't want to contest that if you've never seen it. Definitely have monsters there. And then above us is a wall run. We've never had to do those before. So in that case, this game might expect you to have wall run by the time you show up here. Throwing knife, technically speaking, we could utilize that tech I told you all before about being able to hold both buttons together. Very, very good with throwing knife. Probably the best with throwing knife, actually. Now, I probably should have saved my money, knowing that we're gonna get this curse. The curse, I believe, has light inside of it. Yeah, like, that is a light that will not break. Inside, a level S twin dagger. We can still do the throwing knife tech. Again, very easy to do, and we can, like, eke out damage. So why not do it? I guess the reason why not is if you want a shield. The shield would certainly help. Couple monsters here. Notice how we go in a place we don't want to be. Simply leave. You do not have to stay there. There's nothing making you fight all those monsters at one time. Now, unfortunately, I can't really explain what that does. If this was your first time seeing that monster, you probably would have died. I'm not saying that to be toxic. The flow of dead cells would be, while cursed, fighting monsters that are easy. That certainly did not look easy for someone who has never seen that before. New infantry grenade. Might be time to swap out here. The grenade's not even that great. But I think we'll get more value on this map with a grenade. So axe thrower throws an axe. Surprise, surprise. If the axe thrower is killed while the axe is out, it really should have come back, but I think it got hit on the wall and probably lost its projectile. Required key, crypt key. So there's some stuff to find here. For the most part, there's never not light. If you found yourself in a situation where you're like, wow, there's no light here. If I were to review that footage, like, we'll probably find some light somewhere. Either the light was there and it's gone because maybe you were in that area for too long, or the light is hidden. If we find some hidden light, I'll show you all what I'm talking about. So we found our key. We can progress now. We will eat this. Requires Gardener's Key. We haven't heard of Gardener's Key since since Promenade. Promenade of the Condemned. You can teleport back. There is food on the map. Wow. Imagine if we were cursed. That would have been a loss. Those blind down slams, we were able to do that really early on in 0 BC, maybe even 1 BC, but really not anymore. Too dangerous. Poison the enemy, powerful grenade. That's certainly nice. I know it's not a plus or even a plus, but having that poison effect could give us extra damage on one of our pieces of equipment. We don't want to keep this nightlight after this biome. We will be getting rid of it because this dark mechanic does not exist outside of this biome. Another crypt key. Not the biggest biome of all, but there's a surprising amount of exploration you have to do. Found the one knife thrower. Oh, there's two. So this is where all the knife throwers were hiding. Get our light. Wow, look how these are stacked up. No match for the twin dagger. Even though the range on twin dagger seems short, that third hit, it's actually very nice. Very good reach on it. We can head down. I know we're starting to get to the end of this biome. Another crypt key. Could be the last one, actually. Okay. More monsters to kill. So the game's not completely done with me yet. I am not within any range of any light. I don't see the shine, but there it is. Just a couple steps away. Again, I'm kind of trusting the game to give me light. It's only a matter of time before it shows up. There cannot be no light at all. It's kind of cool. Perhaps there's an easier way to do that. Maybe here. Now, this wall run tech that I'm doing, it's not that hard to do it. I'm doing the wall run, and when I attack, the character almost automatically goes up by himself. I'm not actually hitting the jump button at all. Not every weapon does that the same way. As you see, I have to do the jump for that one. But I can still do it if I'm doing the jump. It's almost like I'm rolling my thumb from triangle to X in order to do like an additional jump up. Get the money. Fall down. Get the light that we posted. And now back to business. Clock room. Something is here. An elite. Both of them. And they drop more crypt keys. What could I possibly need more crypt keys for? Oh, it's literally right here. A room that you can use your head on if you feel like that's really dangerous. We now have Explorer's Room. This permanent rune reveals the whole map and its points of interest once you've explored most of the level. I don't know if it actually works in this biome, funny enough. All right, so it's actually time to leave. Time to head into Clock Room. We will get... I could go double grenade. This one does damage to poison target. Again, it's probably not the strongest thing we've ever done. But just for the sake of argument, for the sake of this showcase, it works. Now, unfortunately, there's going to be no light heading to this. So I will probably take some damage. Look at me, like, failing the backtrack. I think it's still worth it to get the food regardless. Because, like, worst case scenario, I take, like, 10 damage. However, if I still had my nightlight, I could have placed it down, and then it would have been a lot safer to do that. Anyway, into the clock room. We're now in, like, a really good spot, build-wise. We got the 60 kills. A Vorpan that does damage to burning target if I want to swap back to the Molotov. Then we don't have to waste the rerolls on the Twin Dagger to try to find, like, bleed damage or poison damage. Plus, I know we have a lot of Vorpan fans who would love to see this thing in action. Firebrand is back. We have 154 cells. Almost done with the health flask. Level S. Now, I know the, like, double arrow didn't change in the preview, but the actual weapon does have the golden arrows on it. Upgrade here, bonus to burning. Upgrade here, bonus to root, which we aren't doing, but no reason to reroll. And health flask right before the boss, actually. Last time it was after the boss, which is very interesting. All right, this is Timekeeper. We know Timekeeper already. We've been here a couple of times. Our build is a bit different. I did those out of order. I wanted to do the poison first. This is a fight where Vengeance is actually really good. But I decided not to put it on for whatever reason. You can see a lot of my gameplay against the Timekeeper involves me double jumping and then rolling. I'm using the double jump as a means to say I don't know what the proper action is, but if I double jump, that gives me some time. That attack you can wall run to get out of. Like if you're trying to get the flawless kill on Timekeeper, sometimes the wall run is the actual output. However, we did not get the flawless. Not that I was particularly, like, interested in a flawless. That means we'd have to get a legendary, and I feel like that kind of cooks the zero to hero a little bit. New blueprint, that's ice crossbow. Twin dagger that could heal me, but I feel relatively okay right now. Okay. We got 20 cells out of that. All going towards my health flask. I did nothing for the forge in this run at all. It did it again. Yet again, the first cursed biome is in Distillery. What we'll do, and again, I highly suggest not doing this, but for the purpose of this walkthrough, we're gonna reset our mutations. We're taking Disengage again. We're taking Vengeance. That way, if I take damage, we'll be able to reduce some of the damage I am taking. And we're taking Killer Instinct. No more combo. No more initiative. The biome is cursed. Cursed monsters will appear. Beware of their special attacks. Yet again, I implore you, do not do this in Distillery. You can do it anywhere else, but not Distillery. So, we already know we can use our head to hit the barrels. We learned that in 1BC. If you did not see the 1BC video, take a look at that, because now you're missing out. We have bats. We have these things. One grenade is not enough to kill it. Maybe if I did the grenades in the proper order? No, not even. But it at least resets the monster's attack. New monster. That is Arbiter? No, I don't know the name of this thing. However, I do know that it fires out a skull that curses you. with a real curse. That's 4 enemies I have to kill. It was 5 before that bat died. And the monster itself swings at you. So it's not even enough that you have to, like, dodge the skull that goes through platforms, mind you. But you also need to not get killed by the monster itself. Alright, curse is done. That's 1 of the 3 monsters that can curse you in a cursed biome. Can you believe that there's more? This is the barrel launcher. Of course, that's one way for us to clear through all of the brick walls. Each one has a bomb on it. You could use the barrel launcher for shortcuts, but we're not going to do that. This is working. I'm not a big fan of my range. I feel like I am, like, very, very short ranged. Now, if you had Masochist unlocked, Masochist is that mutation we just got. That one reduces the damage you take from traps, and I can tell you there are a lot of traps in this biome. New monster. This thing actually does not hurt you at all. Instead, it follows you until you kill it. Once you kill it, you get a 3 curse. We saw a 5 curse earlier, now we have 3 curse. So that's 1. That's lore. There's a bunch of these in this hallway. Infantry grenade, of course, reset the attack because the monster got displaced. There are a specific number of cursed monsters that spawn. This thing happens to stun you in an area around itself. But it does other stuff too that I want to try to show off. I don't know if we're gonna get that lucky. No, it died. Died to the worms. Which is fine. I'm sure there'll be more. Lots of barrels, but now we have a shortcut thanks to Ram Rune. That monster is new, right? I don't think you all have seen this. I think they call that the hammer. It constantly spawns bats, and then it also does bombs around itself, which is kind of nuts. Like, it's a monster with a lot of stuff to it. Dare I say too much stuff. More food. Every once in a while, yeah, that will actually come down to the platform that you are on. But notice how it's not taking damage from spikes. It's because it's actually too tall. It's not a bug exactly, but it's a design flaw for that monster. The hitbox is actually, like, above its kneecaps, and spikes are only so tall. Quick bow that we're not going to use. Missed the happy birthday just now. Look at that. I don't know if I wanted to aggro that, to be perfectly honest. But it did destroy itself, luckily. It had an elite ability, and because of the elite ability, it actually couldn't do anything. Alright, we do need this to destroy that. We can now utilize our wall run to great effect. Ooh, we'll actually be able to get Explorer's Instinct. At least I hope. There's no way that this is just a dead end. Yeah, see? Ow. That's where Masochist would be very helpful. Ow. Yet again. I'm being a little aggressive. We do have We have no food, actually. I ate all the food. All right, so we do want to take this out. We're going to use our head to grab a barrel. There are scroll fragments here. Funny enough, I don't think it's more scroll fragments. If you think to yourself, oh, okay, this map is really tough, so obviously they're going to give me extra rewards for doing the map. I actually do not think that's the case, which is hilarious. I do like this map. Like, it's well designed for what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to be dangerous. And I think the devs nailed exactly that. Use the health pot. 2 cursed monsters. We know we have to dodge that. That's it. Alright, so continuing to head up. As I get random damage taken that I don't even... I don't know what I'm doing. There's like just so many things here to watch out for. Just infinite amount of ways to get cursed. And that is like the actual problem of a cursed biome, is that there's so many ways to get cursed on the map that it ends up being potential losses. Now there are some benefits for a cursed biome. It's not cursed for no reason. In fact, the weapons on the map are buffed. Every weapon you find actually has additional levels to it, which could actually double if you happen to have a... Oh god, not again. If you happen to have a mimic on the map, it's even better. Now look at this awful situation I'm in. I could go up and fight 2 incredibly difficult monsters, or we go all the way back, which requires a lot of backtracking. This side, potentially even worse. Look at all these bombs activating. This is why I'm telling you, like, you don't want to be here while cursed. It's awful. In fact, the other incentive for cursed biomes is that an actual cursed chest has an increased chance to spawn. But you may not even want to do that in the first place. That's how bad this is. There it is. It's exactly what I'm talking about. Alright, so before I do that other section where we saw there were a bunch of cursed monsters, let's actually look at this section here. This looks extremely bad, and like, not gonna lie, it is actually very bad. We're gonna use our head to scout a little bit and see what's actually going on here. So we have 1 barrel, but there's not anything to do with it. But either way, there's not a lot here to stop the barrels from coming down. That's why I wanted to kind of show. Instead, we're waiting on the ones in the center, and now we can go up. But it's still not very safe. You kind of have to go off to the side where the monsters are. It's like this section's designed with platforms on each side. You can imagine that the platforms themselves are safe, but the center is the worst part. That's why they put monsters on the sides too, to make sure that it's not too easy. We can check the opposite side. See if there's any scrolls, see if there's any food. Looks pretty clean to me. Kind of a random little hole in the wall here. I do see potential food here. It's just money. We need more than just money at this point. Level 10. So remember, I told you the benefit of being in these biomes is that the equipment is actually plus level. And again, we can check it if it's a mimic. And it is. Now, we do need to kill this thing. Like, I can't just teleport away. I know that's like one thing that you would consider doing is just teleporting. But now we have a level 12 twin dagger, which is incredibly strong. That is the strongest that you will probably ever see in 3BC, is level 12. And that's technically like your benefit for coming into the cursed biome. You still may not say it's worth it. After all that, you may say, V, I still will not go into a cursed biome, and that's fine. It's just there to like be risk reward. One thing I didn't show, for some reason, my pets won't kill it. Your grenade, when you kill the cursed monster with your grenade, it actually doesn't make you cursed. The sore loser monster, that is. I don't know if that's a bug. Most other skills in the game will curse you. It seems to be somewhat exclusive to dots and like damage over time and grenades. Almost as if you yourself aren't doing the damage, it's whatever that object is doing the damage. You're done. But we need you. Because we did not get the barrel launcher. Instead, we're going to utilize this guy to break the wall for us. And now, technically, we can leave. However, this map is not done. There's quite a bit left. We're going to go back to the area that killed us before, which is right up here. There just have to be a lot of cursed monsters. In some ways, you could say, oh, if I get cursed, then I probably just leave. But unfortunately, the only thing coming up is Hand of the King. The run's basically over except for this part. We're going to use the grenade tech. Takes quick work of that. Take you out. Being extremely cautious because we know what kind of stuff to expect here. Everything's bad. This is like beyond bad. This thing will of course chase me. Don't want to say we make quick work of it, but we make some kind of work of it. Head up. Again, if it wasn't for the fact that we're getting cursed, I know Distillery is bad enough as is. It has a pretty bad reputation for how difficult it is and how punishing it is. But I don't mind going into it so long as I don't have to deal with one-hit kill mechanics as well. Because technically, the stuff in here is not a one-hit kill mechanic. I'm actually going to swap. That's a level 9 Sinew Slicer. Probably should have kept the poison grenade, but we'll see what happens. I'm not married to either grenade, actually. There's Disengage. Disengage gives you a bubble, which is immunity. You will not take any damage from any source for whatever amount of time. I believe it's 5 seconds, which is quite a lot. It's enough to be able to use a health pot. Like, you could wait out to see, oh, is there food on the map? But we already know we got the food on the map earlier, so the odds of there being more food is extremely low. We did activate Explorer's Instinct. This is new. We just got this. You can see there's a full map reveal, which is very, very cool. It will allow you to see if you missed any food. It'll allow you to see if you missed like a shop or something, or a BC door. For example, I would have really liked the BC door on this map, but that doesn't seem to be the case. I see there's a new infantry grenade. If it's like plus, we might be able to make something that's better than the one we're currently using. So Explorer's Instinct, in my opinion, is one of the best runes in the game after getting wall run. And now I say there's really nothing else on the map. We can go into Throne Room. Now, personally, I don't remember if there is another health flask or not. Being in 3BC, I would play as if every health flask that shows up is a surprise. I wouldn't count on any health pots to show up. I'm not gonna get this just yet. I'm just gonna see if there is a flask for free. There is not. So what I can tell you, who is currently watching this walkthrough, I have 0 health pots. We're gonna make a play that might help you if you're ever in the same situation. We can actually activate this health flask 4 by putting in the rest of our cells, and the game will give us 1 health flask out of it. This is potentially a way to save a run. I'm not saying that you should sit on that 1 health flask and never upgrade it, but it may be advantageous to not activate it unless you are down a flask. Then you at least get that bonus. So we're at 28. We did get Indulgence. That's something brand new. It's Brutality Survival, which is quite nice. The shield is kind of nice. I don't know if I've actually done Hand of the King with the shield yet. So we're gonna grab this. And that way I can showcase a little bit of tech in Hand of the King's fight. That might be quite interesting. Upgrade. I don't know if I care about upgrading the frontline shield. This thing gives you 50% extra melee damage for 6 seconds on successful parry. That's a quite high number, 50%. We'll do this. The victim's bleed nearby does nothing for us. So let's do just 1 reroll. We hit burning damage, which is great. Do I have a burning source? No, I don't. You could maybe reroll the frontline shield to get burn on parry. It's more important. Oh, we don't even have enough to reroll here. We would have to sell off that in order to do the reroll. And that would be to get rid of Killer Instinct and bring back combo, which I would say is worth it. So Vengeance, combo, disengage. A lot of options you could have done. Maybe you take support mutation. That's really about it, to be honest. So I think for the most part, we're going for defenses, and then we have the 1 like damage bonus from combo, but it could have been support instead. All right, Hand of the King. We've been here before. He's still pissed. Again, if we had DLC, we could go to DLC areas instead. But for this walkthrough, we're going to be doing this. Kind of forgot that we don't have the Molotov anymore. We can parry grenades. We can parry his 3-hit attack. Which in my opinion is the most fun part about this fight, is parrying that 3-hit combo. You can roll through the first one and maybe attack the next ones afterward. You can parry his regular stab into down slam too. There's a lot of options that you can parry. I'm gonna take out this up top. We do very good damage on the Twin Dagger. Oh, that's gonna die. Let's prep up. This you can pretend to parry, but it doesn't actually do a parry. So in my opinion, it's not worth it. 3-hit combo. That means you're guaranteed at least 2 parries out of it. None of that you can parry. Don't even try. And that's a dead Hand of the King in 3BC. We did showcase the bad things that could happen in Distillery. You can clearly see that the game has escalated quite a bit, especially depending on what areas you decide to go to. We now have the 4th boss cell, which means for the next video, you already know it's gonna get even more intense, as if it hasn't already been intense already. This was the longest run we've done thus far. 1 hour 8. I know I did a lot of talking. I did a lot of showcasing of what each monster does. Remember, you can always stop playing and come back later because the game does have mid-run saves. And then, of course, if you're running assist mode with infinite lives or however many lives you like, You can choose to die. It will send you back to the beginning, and then you might turn the game off, come back once you're refreshed, and give yourself another try. But that is the third boss cell of Dead Cells complete. Expert mode complete. You may have been dying to that. I hope that you came out of this with some kind of new ideas that's going to help you get through that difficulty or any other difficulty. If you have questions, though, leave a comment letting me know what the question is. Me or any number of my community will help out. Once again, subscribe to the video, leave a like if you happen to like what you saw. We do this and other roguelikes all the time. Otherwise, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you on the next one.